Andrei Tarkovsky is one of the biggest figures in the history of cinema, and his most personal movie, Mirror, is at the second place in IMDb's top 50 most visually beautiful movies ever made. So today we'll break down the cinematography of this feature film, which is now 47 years old, and try to understand the secrets of its visual magic. What's good guys, my name is Oleg Nikitin and you're watching No Limits On channel. The first thing we have to understand is that Mirror is an unusual movie with non-traditional narrative and a lot of hidden meanings behind it. It took several years for Tarkovsky to finish this film, and at first he wasn't satisfied with the results, but the viewers were completely astonished by it and loved it a lot. We would not dive deep into breaking down the meanings behind this movie, and I would say every person will find a different sense after watching it, and I think that's the reason why it's still so popular even among younger generation. So let's dive deep into analyzing the shots, but first let me show you the technical part of things. As you can see, Mirror was shot on film with Arri and Mitchell BNCR cameras using both 35mm film, 60mm and even 8mm film in some cases. Because in this movie we'll see scenes both in color and black and white, and even 8mm chronicle shots. And also I want you to pay attention to the nature and the elements like wind and air, water, fire and earth. That's a big part of Tarkovsky's storytelling. I will not break down the first scene, it has a very strong meaning to it, but in terms of video and cinematography it's not that important. So let's start with this shot, which is the opening shot in color in this movie, and as you can see we see the main character sitting on this little, I don't know, wooden thing, fence probably, and she's smoking and looking at the field. Look at the contrast right here, I like her red hair contrasting to the green forest behind her. And also right here we can see a very strong defects of old optics. As you can see we have a lot of chromatic aberrations and very soft image corners. So here we can see a very slow push in, and we can see that the character is in the left third of the frame if we break the shots into thirds. If we have a look at the color, we can see that there are three main colors in this scene. First is a red color, it's the color of her hair and also a bit of a field right there. It's not really red, it's more of an orange yellowy color. Also the green of the grass and the forest behind her, and right there in the background we see a little bit of kind of cyanish bluish tint, and the sky is a bit more towards blue as well. So here we can see a very nice balance of colors. So if we break down the colors in terms of percentage of them being in the shot, we can see that it's kind of 60% of green, 10% of yellow or orangey, and around 30% of cyanish bluish color, which is a very good proportion, and it's looking pleasing to the eye. And this proportion of 60, 30 and 10% of color is a very popular method of getting a very beautiful looking shot. And also here we can see another character coming to the main character of the movie from the field. Let's open the Vectorscope tool, which shows us the saturation of different colors and the amount of colors in the shot, and we can see that this shot is not very saturated. As you can see, the colors are pretty much muted, which is looking really nice and kind of pastel. This is why I like the film. And if we increase the saturation, you can definitely see three main colors: the green one, kind of reddish orangey one, and the cyan color. And the whole movie and the whole cinematography of Tarkovsky is full of those very slow movement of the camera on the rails, very slow push-ins and outs, and maybe some panning, but it's always very long shots and very slow ones. Looking at the next shot, I really like how her face contrasts against the darker background, and also we can see the cigarette in the shot, which is also very bright and almost white. And also let's have a look at golden ratio rule, and we can see that this shot is kind of curved around her hair, and we can see that her hair are kind of a spiral, which is very nicely looking, and I really like the composition of this shot. In this shot we also do have this good contrast, we can clearly see her face against darker background, and also this shot is kind of divided into two parts. We see those trees, they're having those straight lines and they are at the right part of the image, and the main character and the green leaves are on the left part of the image, which is also giving us the sense of dual nature of this movie, Mirror. The next shot is very simple. As you can see, we can see another character standing right here, and he's talking to the main character, as you understand. And also I like the bokeh right here, Really nicely looking bouquets, by the way. And this shot is pretty much straightforward. We have central composition right here, but there's some magic to it. I like the lighting, how it's lit. I mean, the source of light is at the left of the character, and we see a kind of a kicker light on his hair, and his face is lit in a pretty straightforward way, but also it plays some kind of a magic to me. I don't know, maybe it's the magic of film. Let's move on, and we can see Margarita Terехova, who plays the main character in this movie. Her name is Natalia. I mean, the character's name is Natalia, and she's standing in the corner. We see the leading lines of the walls coming towards her, and also it's a very, very dark scene. As you can see, the IRE value is less than 25 almost entirely, and it's a very dramatic looking shot. So you shouldn't be afraid to underexpose the shot if it works for your story. So in the next shot here we have the interior of a house, and we can see some light coming from the window. It's obviously night or close to the nighttime. And now let's apply the golden ratio rule, and as you can see, everything which is standing on the table, it's telling the story because they were living in a very difficult time. It's during the war, if I'm not mistaken, and you can see that our attention is drawn to this specific part, and also the bench and the table's legs, if I can say so, they kind of make this curl towards the edge, the right edge of the shot, and through the window back to the table, which is very nice. So we have this little spiral in the shot, and this shot is also a very, very slow it has very slow movement of the camera. This is one of my favorite shots, and by the way, it's shot through the mirror. As you can see, we have some patterns from the mirror, maybe it's, I don't know, fingerprints or something. And here we can see two little boys standing and watching a big fire. Remember, I was talking to you about the elements. In the first shot, we had the elements of air and wind. It had pretty strong wind in this shot, and in the next shot we can see the element of fire, as you can see right here. So let's break it down this shot, and as you can see in terms of color, we have two main colors. The orange from the fire, which is looking pretty good in my opinion. That's one of the most beautiful orange colors I've ever seen. And also the kind of greenish cyanish color from the leaves. And it's making the shot look good because those colors are opposite on the color wheel, and it makes it look complementary. Basically, it's called complementary colors. And if we apply the rule of thirds, you can see that those boys are standing at the right third of the frame, which is also looking pretty good in terms of composition. And one more pretty powerful tool of Tarkovsky is silhouettes. He's using a lot of silhouettes, and we don't see the faces of them boys. And we do understand that they are boys because of the, outfits, and they're looking at this fire. We don't see the fire in its full potential, let me say, yet, but I do love this shot a lot. And if we have a look at the vectorscope, we can see a very nicely saturated reddish yellowish color, more towards yellow actually, and almost no cyan. It's a little bit of cyan, but the overwhelming color of this shot is orange. And in the next shot we can see what's exactly happening. So we can see the fire in the building. Probably it was some kind of, I don't know, not real house, maybe for the cows or something, but it doesn't really matter because we can see two silhouettes right there. They're also watching this, and we don't see the faces, we don't see their reaction, we only see their body language. And also I really do like how it's shot through the door. We can see this framing, kind of the shot is getting tighter because of it, and I also do love this technique. So let's have a look at the golden ratio rule, and we can see this man at the left going towards this fire, and we have our attention being drawn to this man. One more great shot, we can see that the building is almost gone in fire, but in this shot I have a lot of things to tell you. So here we have the central composition. We can see that the frame is divided into basically two parts by this wooden thing in the middle, but also we can see that this shot has two squares diagonally. So in one square we can see the fire itself, and in the other we can see the character sitting right there and watching this fire. So basically we have this really nice rule of squares, if you will. So we have two kind of emotions, two things happening in two diagonally square parts of the image. And now we're moving on, and this shot is very much dramatic. We can see that the building is full of water everywhere. So we had air, we had fire, and now we have water in the shot. And some people say that this shot is a metaphor for her life being, crashed and drawn and so on. But Tarkovsky himself said that in his flat during his childhood, if it was raining, they had similar issues. I hope it wasn't that bad. But in this shot, we see a very strong contrast between the darker walls and the brighter dress of the main character, and also the central composition. And don't forget, guys, that it's now black and white, and it's also made on purpose. So now we're back to color, and here we have a little hint from Andrei Tarkovsky. We can see the poster of his previous film, Andrei Rublev, which is very, very popular, among critics and viewers, to be honest. And here we can definitely see the poster of this work. And if we take a look at the color wheel, we still do get this color palette of orange, very warm color, and kind of cyan color in the outside and in the, ambient light in the room. And this shot has a very long pan and then a very, very long dolly shot. And as we can see this flat, we can see how dark and moody it is. And also we have a lot of framing because of the doors. And of course we have a lot of leading lines because of it. So now we're back to black and white, kind of a sepia look, if I pronounce it right, and I really love this shot. It's a moving shot, but it's a freeze frame I did, and I really like how it's made. So the main character and her head is at the left top part of the thirds, and also I really like how this triangle above her hair is making a very geometrical look to this shot. And let's not forget that it has a very good contrast against white wall. We can see a dark character. And this one is a classic leading lines shot. We see a ton of leading lines, basically 4 of them, from the corners and also the windows. So our attention is really drawn towards the main character, to Natalia, and to her emotions, her face. And as a result of those emotions, we can see that she's crying, and the lighting right here is kind of a Rembrandt lighting. We can see it shot from the darker side of her face. We can see a very strong rim light and nothing else in the shot. And that's made on purpose so we can enjoy the emotions of the character and fully understand the full spectrum of those emotions. And this is one of the most important shots in this film, I think. This is the shot when the main character, she's looking straight at us, straight into the camera, kind of breaking the fourth wall. And it's really unusual and intense, especially for 47 years ago. And once again, if we have a look at the vectorscope and the color wheel, we see those 2 colors again. Kind of orangey, yellowish, reddish one, color of the skin and her hair, and a very cyanish and bluish color of the background. This is one of my favorite shots as well. We can see a lot of characters right here, basically 4 different characters, and I really like how the sun from the window lights this lady in the middle. So here we have basically 2 sources of light, 2 windows, and maybe even nothing else. But the whole composition of this shot is bringing something very specific to your eyes and to your emotions. So now we're moving on to the story of a little boy, and as you can see, this shot has very good symmetry. So let's apply the rule of thirds, and you can see straight away that this shot is full of vertical and horizontal lines for the stairs and those metallic, I think, made of steel kind of rods. And we can see that the main character, the boy, which is the main character in this part of the film, is very nicely contrasting with the white sky. And we can see that his dark coat and dark hat are bringing us the silhouette of him. And then we have a little shot from the Chronicle. And as you can see, it's shot on 8mm film. It's pretty old. It's a real Chronicle, to be honest. And we can see that the horizon is kind of tilted a little bit, but the overall composition is pretty good. We have 2/3 of the sky and kind of 1/3 of the action itself, and a lot of patterns of those soldiers. The next image really reminds me of a picture, to be honest. We see a lot of patterns with good contrast of people walking somewhere down and the main character coming to the frame right in the middle of it. And right here we have a small red accent, which adds a little bit of taste, in my opinion, to this shot. And of course, the main character is right in the middle. So we're back to black and white, and we can see the picture of our main character, and if we apply the rule of thirds, it's right on her right eye, left eye, the cross of those thirds, and we can see that she's looking at the picture of herself and her mother, and basically throughout the movie we can see that she and her mother are kind of mirroring each other. It's a bit complicated, you better watch this movie to fully try to understand the meanings of it. One more very cinematic shot in my opinion. Here we can see several things going on. So first, let's apply the rule of thirds, and we can see a very good balance. So at upper left third we have the main character, and in lower right third we have her son basically, and we can see that this shot is really nicely balanced. Also, we can see a very nice reflection of the face of the main character on the darker side of the wall, and it's a reflection in the window basically, so we can still see her face without really seeing. And also, if we divide the frame by parts, we can once again see that those diagonal squares, they tell us the story, the upper left and the lower right. And also the window is kind of leading and dividing the frame into two parts, telling us that they are not really understanding each other and they have some troubles in their relationship. This shot is just beautiful, in my opinion. So we have only the natural lighting right here, probably, maybe it's an artificial, but it looks like it's a natural lighting. And here we can also see a baby sitting right here near the sun rays, and a little vase standing right there on the table. And if we apply the rule of thirds, we can see that those are bringing the balance to the shot. So we have one person in the lower left third, and also the vase on the upper right third. So we're balancing out this shot. In this shot we see a very nice framing because of the door right here. Also I really like how the light is hitting those, grass things, wheat something, let me say grass right there. And also if we divide the shots, we can see that it's almost central composition. We didn't have back in the days, the digital leading lines and grids for the cameras, so it was more of intuition, let me say, and it's a moving shot, don't forget about it. Let's move on. Here we can see a very strong silhouette once again, and almost all the left part of the image is very dark. It's a moving picture, but we can clearly see two main characters right there. We're back to black and white. We can see that it's a very strong wind right here, once again going back to the elements. And let's apply the golden ratio rule. We can see that the branches and the roof of the building and the trees, they're kind of leading us towards this little guy, this boy basically, who's running towards the most important parts of the golden ratio to the corner of this building to kind of hide because of this strong wind. So guys, let's continue, and this shot is really epic in my opinion. The camera angle is a little bit low and it makes the character look more like strong and more tall, and also I do enjoy this lighting. Look, we have a very strong backlight with a very warm color, and also we have a really nice framing to the center of the shot. We almost don't see at the left and at the right of the shot, but the character really stands out and I like it a lot. And as you can see, the theme of the mirror is going like through this movie, and we see that the son of the main character is looking at the mirror. We have a very slow push in, and I like the composition here. As you can see, the spiral, which is for golden ratio rule, it's going from the wall to the mirror, to the reflection, and then from the wall back to the character. And as you can see, it's very, very well balanced. And if we apply the rule of thirds, speaking of balance, we have a very nice balance. So lower left corner is with his real kind of head and face, and on the top right we have the reflection, the mirror, balancing the shots diagonally. To me, this shot actually looks like a painting, to be honest, and as you can see, it's kind of a Rembrandt style once again, so it's pretty moody and dark, and a little ray of light for the kid's face. And if we apply the golden ratio rule, once again we see that the bed itself and the curtains above it, they are forming this kind of spiral and drawing our attention towards the kids. Really, really beautiful shot. And this is the iconic shot of the Mirror movie. It's black and white, and as you can see, the character levitates, and here's the backstage shot of this, and it's really interesting and beautifully made. And as you can see, she's kind of laying on the upper third of the frame. And from this shot we understand that Tarkovsky loves very dark and moody scenes, and he's not afraid of low-key shots. And in terms of composition, as you can see, it's dead center. I mean, his head is dead center. And the final shot of the movie, the final shot for today, it's a very simple, very straightforward portrait shot, and the main character, she's almost crying, and she actually is crying, and I love the colors right here. Once again, we see this golden color, kind of yellowy orangey hair, as well as pretty nice and green, kind of cyan and dark green grass and leaves behind her, and this shot really makes me feel the emotions of this character because it's that simple, because of the lighting and because of the mood overall after watching all of the previous shots and the movie itself. So guys, as you can see, the cinematography of this movie is rather simple, but it really touches the strings of my soul, and I hope yours too. Tell me in the comments what's your favorite Tarkovsky's movie and which film you want me to break down next. If you did enjoy this video, please smash the like and subscribe buttons as I say my videos and hit the notifications bell. Here is a breakdown of the movie by Nicholas Refn, The Neon Demon. I highly recommend you watch it next. Take care guys, bye.